I call the Township of Hamilton Committee meeting for September 18th, 2017 to order. Please stand for the flag salute. Judy?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rita?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City on January 9, 2017, and the Atlantic County Record on January 11, 2017. Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mrs. Link?
Here.
Mr. Shanker?
Here.
Mr. Silva?
Here.
And Mayor Kurtz.
Here. If we could have a moment of silence for private reflection. I just would like to mention that Eric Davenport, the Assistant Chief in Mizpah, passed away. It's Jay Davenport's uncle. Next, we have a proclamation, Knockout Opiate Abuse Day, October 6, 2017. For the record, I'll go ahead and read that for the folks attending today. Whereas New Jersey is in the midst of a life-threatening opioid abuse epidemic, and whereas the Partnership for a Drug-Free New Jersey has designated October 6, 2017 as Knockout Opiate Abuse Day, an initiative with a dual purpose: to educate families of the addictive qualities of opiate pain medications and their link to heroin abuse rates in New Jersey, and to communicate to physicians information on safer prescribing messages found in Centers for Disease Control and Prevention guidelines for prescribing opiates, which include considering other therapies, setting realistic treatment goals with patients, and discussing with patients the pros and cons of opioids. And whereas the State Senate and General Assembly jointly resolved that October 6 shall be permanently designated as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in New Jersey in order to raise awareness about the dangers of and the link between opioid abuse and heroin addiction, to educate healthcare providers, community leaders, state lawmakers, and members of the public about the opioid abuse epidemic and its effects throughout the state of New Jersey and across the country. Whereas Township of Hamilton Municipal Alliance supports initiatives to raise awareness about the opiate abuse in New Jersey and take steps to prevent addiction. Therefore, be it resolved that October 6, 2017 be recognized as Knockout Opioid Abuse Day in the Township of Hamilton, New Jersey. Thank you. Item 1, addition and deletion of late agenda items for tonight.
So moved.
Second.
I think you need a resolution with respect to what you just read.
Do we?
No.
I don't think it's in resolution form. Did you want that?
Just a proclamation.
It was just a proclamation?
Proclamation,
Yeah.
but it's in the wherefore clause, you okay, I see.
Okay, great. Thank you. We have a motion on the...
Got a second also.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against, abstain. Early public comment on agenda items excluding items listed for public hearings. Mike, nothing?
signed up there.
Great. And then we're going to move down to 3A. Discussions, formal actions may be taken. A, resolution authorizing amendment of the shared services agreement with the ACIA for administration of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Spending Plan Rehabilitation Program. Phil?
Thank you, Mayor. What we're seeking, and take a step back, in 2012, the township entered an agreement with the County Improvement Authority for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, where we would dedicate $50,000 out of the fund for the county to do rehabilitation of rental properties that were restricted for low and moderate income persons. Subsequent to then, we've gone through our court compliance approval in 2015, where the courts determined that our affordable housing obligation for the next, well, now 8 years, till 2025, was the new housing component from our originally approved plan in 2008, which was 345 units, and then rehabilitation of 125 units over the next, now 8 years. In order to do that, we're participating in the county's rehabilitation program. We're going to use roughly half of our money from our annual CDB allocation for them to rehabilitate additional homes. And as part of that, the committee approved, as part of the spending plan, $150,000, increase of $100,000 from the Housing Trust Fund to the county for additional rehab to be accomplished for either rental or owner-occupied units. So this is really just a step to authorize amending the current agreement to make that change.
And are you, Phil, are you the municipal housing liaison?
Yes, I am.
And then what, you'll get a report monthly?
Yeah, we'll get a report from them. I know that they'll be working with the finance office, and anytime anything comes in, they'll check with us, and we'll have to sign off.
Will
for
this give
authorizing
us
the money.
better control or better awareness?
Better awareness. I mean, the county has the expertise in running the affordable, or the rehabilitation program. They have a waiting list of residents in Hamilton Township, so there's a need out there. They have the expertise, and they have the contacts and everything else. So we'll take advantage of that, and we'll be funding that part of the project.
Good, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions of Phil?
Yes, is
Ahead,
it primarily the 150,000 will go towards houses in Hamilton Township then?
It's all of it, anything that's spent, authorized by the township for housing rehabilitation. With this money, it has to be in the township. If we say we want to take funds from our annual CDBG allocation to be used for housing rehab, that also has to be used in the township. So that money is earmarked for here. As far as the regular rehab program, that's, the county's first come, first served, and who's got the most need. So that money, we have no control over.
When you're talking about rehab, what items are we looking at? The roof?
You're looking at major systems. It would include replacement of roofs, windows, wells, septic systems, heating systems, things of those nature.
Good. All right.
Okay, anyone else have any other questions? We're looking for a motion to move the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes,
All yes and carried.
thank you. Item B, resolution to title a 1986 R685T tanker from the Township of Hamilton to the Mizpah Fire Department. Mike?
Yes, Chief Davenport reached out to me a couple weeks ago and asked that they had informed me that they had purchased this tanker originally, and they titled it to us so it can go on our insurance,
Right.
and that they want to dispose of it, and they have an offer that is more than what they think we'd get on Gov Deals, which it probably is, listening to what he had to say. So we would be titling it back to them so they could sell it. And they did mention this before the ESAB the other night, too.
Yeah.
so.
Would we get credit for the insurance, or is it,
Once it comes off their insurance, we wouldn't pay. I don't know if we pay by the vehicle. There's probably a certain amount of premium that goes towards that
okay.
we would save.
Okay, any other questions? We're looking for a motion to move the
So moved.
resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Item C, well, was on the agenda late list. It's a resolution authorizing the township solicitor to file suit against the Bergen County Sheriff's Office regarding Kenneth Manillo. Mike, can you talk on that?
Yes, this is an officer we had hired to the academy, and then he left us and went to Bergen County. And under Title 40, they're required to reimburse us some of the training costs. And I spoke to the chief, and we did send a notice to them, certified mail, within the time frame required. He's made several phone calls, but just haven't received payment yet.
Okay.
So,
I've also placed them on notice of the fact that it'll be on tonight's agenda. I sent them certified, I'm not sure if it's certified, but I sent a follow-up letter,
Yeah.
request to the finance office.
And within a certain time frame, Bob, or?
Mike's letter was in the initial time frame.
Oh, okay.
Mine was a follow-up, and it gave him a specified period of time to make the reimbursement, and I have gotten no response.
You mentioned how much is involved?
how much money?
Yeah.
Chief, you know the total, top of your head?
I want to say it was around $20,000.
Okay.
Make the necessary motion.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
4A, public hearing, adoption of ordinances. Ordinance 1855-2017, an ordinance to vacate the following public street situated in the Township of Hamilton, County of Atlantic, State of New Jersey, and to release and relinquish the public rights therein, a portion of Odessa Avenue, and repealing ordinances herefore adopted, the provisions of which are inconsistent herein. Let's see.
Public
Anybody
hearing.
have any questions on that? Or?
Public hearing.
Yeah, it's public hearing, so we want to open it up for the public. Does anyone in the public wish to speak on this item?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What's your pleasure?
I move ordinance 1855, 2017, an ordinance to vacate the following public street statute in the Township of Hamilton, State of New Jersey, and to release and relinquish the public rights therein, a portion of Odessa Avenue, and repealing all ordinances heretofore adopted, the provisions of which are inconsistent herein.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
5, introduction of ordinances, public hearing to be held on October 2nd, 2017. A, ordinance 1856-2017, an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees, additional Public Works Operations Supervisor. Mike, could you
Yes.
fill us in? on that?
Currently, we have one operations supervisor and we have one deputy. This would create a second operations supervisor, in which we would post in-house and then promote from within, if it's approved by the committee.
This is not adding anybody to the number, it's just creating a position within the department, correct?
Filling this with a promotion doesn't add anyone to the department. We would
good.
have to do that by a resolution later.
Okay, that's good. Anyone have any questions on that?
No.
We're looking for a motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
5B, ordinance 1857-2017, an ordinance amending Exhibit A, Section 1, Article 2 of Chapter 66 of the Code of the Township of Hamilton, providing for the maximum number of employees, additional part-time building inspector. Inspector Mike?
Yes, this is, we're running behind where we're supposed to be according to the DCA as far as inspection time. I met with Phil and with Warren, and we believe that a part-time building inspector would help us with that, to try to get it back under the time frame that you're required by DCA, which I think is 3 days.
3 days, is that what we're going to have?
I believe that's what the requirement is,
Yeah.
72 hours.
And are we, will that, your opinion too, is beside of talking to Warren?
Oh,
that-
yes,
that-
I
that
definitely
be
agree it would
sufficient?
help.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully, we can find somebody.
Great. Okay, we need a motion to
So
introduce.
moved.
Second.
We
Second.
have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
5C, ordinance 1858-2017, an ordinance amending Section 203 of the Township Code, Land Use and Development, Phil?
Thank you, Mayor. Proposed ordinance 1858 implements provisions from the Mays Landing Neighborhood Plan, specifically dealing with the commercial aspects of development. Among the changes proposed in the ordinance are a modest expansion of the village commercial zoning district eastwardly to incorporate the commercial properties that are located near the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and Summers Point Mays Landing Road, to bring them into commercial. Also, it expands the number of commercial uses permitted in the village commercial district.
Which includes bed and breakfast.
Well, bed and breakfasts are permitted now.
But I mean, it changes
With
the-
regard to that, in the residential zones in Mays Landing, in the R9 and R22 zoning districts, bed and breakfast would be allowed as a conditional use
Right.
in those zones, subject to conditions that they're either in the historic district or they're located along the river or along Lake Lenape. Again, these are all the recommendations from the plan to encourage economic revitalization, encourage tourism, and additional businesses. There are some other modifications proposed to the standards for the village commercial zoning district, dealing with parking requirements, building setbacks, et cetera. But these are the most significant standards that are being proposed. Also, detailed standards as far as the requirements for bed and breakfast establishments are being included as part of this.
Any questions of Phil, anybody? I just want to add to it that on our synopsis of the requested item, it indicates that the planning board reviewed the ordinance at its September 7th meeting and found the amendments to be consistent with the master plan. The board has also recommended several modifications which have been incorporated in the proposal, and Phil covered those. I think this is a good move. Any other question on it?
I'll make a motion, we move the ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
D, ordinance number 1859-2017, an ordinance temporarily prohibiting left turns by vehicles at the intersection of Gale Avenue southbound onto Route 322 eastbound, and requiring such vehicles to turn right westbound and use the U-turn at their intersection of County Route 559 and proceed back to US 322 eastbound. Chief, could you,
This requires testimony. from the
this,
chief.
okay,
So I'm going to move over there so I can.
sure, whatever you got to do, Bob.
Name for the record, please,
Stacy Tappener,
and your position.
Chief of Police,
How long have you held that position?
8 years now.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
In order to proceed with this application, Mayor and members of Township Committee, you have to declare that it's an emergency. In order for that to happen, you have to have testimony from someone qualified to give you that basis or that testimony.
Understood.
So with that, Chief, you're familiar with this intersection, are you not?
I am.
And are you aware that something similar like this happened in 2009?
Yes.
Do you believe that the situation with the Weymouth Bridge being out creates a danger at this intersection?
It does, and so does my traffic expert in the police department,
And who is that?
Sergeant Wade Smith.
And he's a qualified traffic expert?
He is.
Have you ever provided testimony in a hearing like this before?
Yes.
I find the chief is qualified as an expert to give opinion testimony. Can you tell the members of the committee in your own words why you believe this bridge being out has created a danger at this intersection?
A detour was put in by Atlantic County to funnel traffic down Gale Avenue to Gale and 322. That is a new traffic pattern, and folks that travel that area frequently are used to going down Weymouth Road to an intersection that's regulated by a traffic light. This intersection is not regulated by a traffic light, and at different times of the day, rush hour, both in the morning and in the evening, traffic will back up on Gale Avenue. And the concern today is the same as it was back when they did work on the bridge a few years ago, that folks are going to get impatient and try to shoot across essentially 4 lanes of traffic to make a left-hand turn. And that creates a substantial risk, obviously, to the folks driving out there.
Chief, where would you post it, assuming this goes through?
We would post it before Gale Avenue, coming south, and we would also post it across from Gale Avenue, across all 4 lanes of traffic, so it faces Gale on the eastbound shoulder of 322. That's what we did the last time that we did this.
Yeah, you could see that it could be a real rear-end situation up there if it did happen.
And T-bone, yeah.
T-bone, definitely.
So you believe that the current situation is a dangerous situation?
I do.
And do you also believe to a reasonable degree of certainty that if this ordinance were introduced tonight and the compendium resolution which appears on item 7E, that that would reduce the danger of this intersection?
I do.
And was it successful in 2009 when it was implemented?
It was, in our opinion.
With respect to item E, prohibiting a left-hand turn from the Black Horse Pike eastbound onto Gale, would your testimony be the same?
Yes, it would.
And do you believe that if the governing body were to introduce this ordinance and the compendium resolution, it would reduce that danger?
I do.
Is there anything else you would like to add to the record?
Just on the proposal for 322 East and prohibiting the left turn onto Gale Avenue, again, it's a new traffic pattern, and as it is now, cars will be stopping in the fast lane of the eastbound side of 322. And on any section of a 4-lane highway, that's always a dangerous situation, especially now, though, because it's a new traffic pattern. We have a serious risk coming over that hill for rear-end collisions there.
Is it true that the only way that motorists can navigate that now, traveling east, is to go all the way up to the Route 50 interchange and turn around?
That's correct. Or go around up at 54.
Up at 54?
Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Question.
Any more questions? Go ahead, Robbie.
In the past experience, when we had the construction on the bridge, have there been any incidents, or any other time, have there been any traffic incidences resulting from people making left turns off Gale?
There have not. We preempted that the last time by doing this same thing before the project actually got going at that point.
So it's unfortunate that the county didn't think of this ahead of time because of what could and would happen if this thing was neglected with making a left-hand turn. I mean, there's going to be people trying it anyhow,
Yes, there's no question.
and you know that. And unfortunately, you know, we're always concerned about the danger of not only the accident, but someone losing their life there. And that's a moving road.
Oh, it
Especially if
is.
you come off through the traffic
Yes.
light, especially if they run the light.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Approximately how long will this detour take a person to
It's
execute.
approximately 3 months. Are you talking about the project itself or to get around?
to get around?
I don't know the answer to that.
You know, it's unfortunate that they didn't post the roads further out. Further out.
I agree.
Coming over the bridge from Hamilton to let people know that their bridge work is being done, so that they did have alternate choices rather than run the risk of having issues. And that is a residential area.
It is.
Speed limit, low, 25 miles an hour. Kids getting on school buses, you know, there's a lot of situations there.
Originally, when the project first started, they hadn't yet put up any detour signs, and we sent an officer out there to survey the situation and convince them to put signs up all the way up Weymouth Road when you first come on it, that there's a detour ahead. So since then, they were supposed to improve the signage, which they have, and hopefully, if this passes this evening, this will also help to alleviate problems out there.
Well, I'm sure other members of the committee got phone calls about it.
Oh, absolutely.
We all have,
Yes.
and they're not happy about it.
Well, not only about that, but about the fact that there are trucks.
Yep.
Going along Gale Avenue. I believe, are the signs up now that prohibit truck traffic on
No,
Gale Avenue?
I don't believe so.
No, there's still.
Because I think there's not supposed to be truck traffic on there anyway, isn't there? Any event, there is truck traffic, heavy truck traffic, and the residents there don't appreciate that at all. So we are putting up signs, I guess, also prohibiting truck traffic, or are we not?
At this point, there is not, no.
Well, for the large trucks, the Aerowac trucks, for example, that use that street, I really question the safety of that.
I agree with
It's hard
you.
enough to negotiate those tight turns in there as it is.
I believe, Rodney, though, the last time that this happened, Arawak met with the residents or discussed with them, and they agreed to repave the road after the construction, and the residents agreed. And I believe that that same offer might be available this time. I'm not sure about that, but that happened last time.
Well, even if it did happen, I'm sure you've traveled along there. and
I have.
I hope there are no accidents there, but it's not a safe road at all.
Chief, isn't it correct that we didn't get notice of this until Labor Day weekend, or just before Labor Day weekend, and then they started to work on right after Labor Day?
I was aware that there was going to be road work at some point after Labor Day.
Right.
I was not aware, they never told us what day they were going to start.
But they were going to start.
I didn't find out the construction was taking place until the day they started working. And I notified the administrator at that point that they're actually doing the work.
Well,
So,
my concern, I guess, would be if the county or the state had had enough lead time or gave us the proper notice, if they had enough lead time, they couldn't have come up with a better traffic management plan for this event?
I can't answer that. I do know they've been down this road before, so to speak, no pun intended, and they were aware of these issues the last time. And, for whatever reason, they decided to do the same traffic plan.
Here we are again.
Maybe,
And not even giving the residents fair warning. Used to be, they used to hold meetings and let the public know when they were coming into the neighborhoods, and we're going to,
They may have had those meetings. Again, I'm not sure how much that was advertised and, whether the public knew about it. We did send officers to certain meetings.
Weren't they
Yes.
going to do it in July initially?
Yes, they were, and they moved it back.
But so the record's clear with respect to item 5E, eastbound on the Black Horse Pike is 2 lanes, correct?
That is correct.
And so is westbound.
Yes, it is.
So if you're heading eastbound and you wanted to make a left-hand turn onto Gale, you'd have to stop at the fast lane, as you've testified,
Yes,
cross 2 westbound lanes, true?
yes.
And is Gale 1 lane each direction?
No, it's one lane. It's a small road.
Okay.
It's a-
well, it's-
And if you know, are school buses currently picking up and dropping off children back in that residence?
I don't know I assume they are. I don't know that for certain.
is there anything that can be done to make Gale Avenue a little bit safer?
sure,
I mean, signage or something?
you could close it off up at the bridge and just use it for residents only. That would be the safest way to do it, but it would cause quite a furor among
It
a
would
lot of
cause a
people,
furor,
you know.
yeah.
But, they should have posted the roads in the area further up toward Hamilton to let people know. They've
Well,
done
that
it.
can still be done.
Yeah, but they're already working now.
It can still be done.
Bob, can it be done? It's a county road.
Well, Gale Avenue is a municipal road.
I understand, but what Roger's saying is to stop them from making the turn at all into that area.
Well, you
And
can't do
send them
that
the other
tonight
way.
because it hasn't been advertised appropriately. What I understand, Roger, to mean is that if you
Block.
put barricades across Gale Avenue where it meets with the road that goes over the bridge, I don't know the name of that road, Weymouth Road maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it was on the Gale Avenue side, you'd have authority to do that. But you'd have to do it on notice to the residents and to the public, and this does not provide that.
That would be
Because
an
there's people
extreme,
that might
that would
read
be an
that and say, I
extreme
want to come to
decision.
this meeting.
That would be an extreme, it would be, take people way out of the way. I'm wondering if aside from that, maybe some signage can be put up or something to make that a little bit safer, because, as I said, as it is now, it seems pretty,
Well,
pretty unsafe.
I would suggest this. Based on the testimony of the chief, you consider a resolution declaring this to be an emergency situation. If you do that, under the statute, it gives you jurisdiction to approve the resolution, and on the next part of the agenda, the ordinance introduction, and on the next part of the agenda, the resolutions, so that signage could be put up right away. If you want to go beyond that, I would suggest that Wade be sent out to do some study and come back to you at the next meeting and make a presentation. But I would have to work with Rita for an appropriate advertisement for that. And I guess what you're saying, Roger, is that if you're heading down what I call Blueberry Road, and you're headed toward the bridge, you could make a left onto Gale Avenue right there. That if that were for residents only and school buses, that might alleviate some of the problems.
You know, it would be strictly the residents.
It would take into consideration Rodney's thoughts on trucks.
And again, you know, there's, even the last time they used, and I mean, we're fortunate that we have a first aid squad building right there, if anything did happen, and let's hope it doesn't. But still in all, I mean, there's a lot of consideration. I mean, you're right, the streets are very narrow, and they're winding, and a lot of times they would cut across people's property.
well,
I
I'll
think
tell you,
we-
for anybody who's not familiar with that road, some people from out of town or whatever, they've got to go through there. Some of those one-lane turns with traffic coming in the other direction certainly could pose a problem.
Sure.
So I wonder whether just some signage warning about that could possibly help with that. Closing the road altogether would take people way out of the way. And I think some people would ignore it, and it would be rather drastic. But at least some signage might help.
Again.
And maybe Wade would be, could make some
And it's going to
suggestions.
it's going to increase enforcement too. And I wonder why can't the county, since it's one of their projects, provide the
Signage.
security out there?
You would think.
I would think so. You think that's possible, Mike?
I can certainly talk to the county administrator.
Because there's other things going to take place in this township, especially when the bridge goes out here by the dam, and that's going to be out for a year and a half or two. I mean, someone's going to have to get it, and, just to do the project and forget about the municipality, I mean,
Are we asking them to pay for it or to provide it?
Both.
Either way would
Either
probably be
or.
good.
Okay. Just wanted
As
to
long
make
as
sure.
we're not
give
paying
them
for
a
it.
choice.
The ordinance and the resolution require certain signage that has to comply with the MUTCD, which is the manual on uniform traffic control devices. The ordinance also has to be, and the resolution has to be sent to the county and the DOT.
The two items that are before us tonight are left turns on 322 that we're looking at, besides what we just talked about. And at a meeting that I was involved in with the county and state, they said that the county said that what we were looking for was some way to alleviate that. What can we do to make those left turns a better scenario? And they said nothing, because there's not enough time to have the approval process done at the state level, I believe.
In my experience, that's accurate.
That's what they
That's
told
one of
us.
the other issues, is we're dealing with both the county and the state, because it involves 322.
Yeah, and that was their answer. There wasn't, I thought of, one of my suggestions was to put a sign far enough ahead on the westbound side of 322 to announce that the left lane would be closed off for left turns only, and then they could let traffic get through on the other side. However, their answer was that we don't have enough time to get that cleared through the state.
Hence, they should have met with us months ago.
Yes, I
Should have
agree.
given us that courtesy.
as much as I think this is good and this will help, I don't think it's going to stop the problem. And
I don't either.
I was on Gale Avenue the other morning, not remembering that this whole thing was going on. It was early, I hadn't had my first cup of coffee. I don't know how an Arawac truck makes it through that road, and especially if another vehicle's coming the other way. I don't know how that happens. So I think for us to do, if we do anything, as much as this is a good idea, is there a way that we can make this street temporary, not accessible by these trucks?
Yes.
That's what
Because
the red-
that to me is, and I don't live there, I just went through there, and, you know, I have a smaller vehicle, and I went past another smaller vehicle, and we almost met each other. And I can't imagine when one of those trucks rolls through there, not that I'm not aware that it's an inconvenience to the people that live there, but it creates a very dangerous situation that I think we need to address that, as well as, the no left turns will slow down the traffic from coming through there, but Arawak's coming through there, and I don't think paving the road is what the neighborhood wants.
And there's already damage out there, I believe, at the present time, just at this little time that it's been open. So that creates an issue also. So, I mean, after it's done, there's no doubt that the work's going to have to be done on the road, one way or the other, whether Arawak does it and still uses the road and fixes it at the end, or we eliminate the whole thing by no trucks on there, like
Well,
Deputy
there's
Mayor
a couple
said.
of things you need to think about. First of all, that's way beyond what you advertised here.
Yes.
Secondly, that would
Yeah.
require a separate area of testimony
Mhm.
that could talk about the road widths, the curves, the size of trucks, and things of that sort. And finally, you can't control what's going to happen on a state highway or a county right-of-way.
Right.
The only control that you have is on the municipal portion
Gale
of what is
Avenue.
Gale Avenue. So what you have before you tonight is limited. I get what you're saying, that might be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And you can't, pick out Arawak. It could be,
Well, no, I don't mean that. I just know that they're right up the street.
I certainly wasn't picking them out. That's just an example.
Well, the last
Some of the
time
big
that it
trucks.
occurred in 2009, you had to worry it was during the harvest season for blueberries. And you had all the blueberry trucks coming through there and the pickers, remember? And there was a lot of traffic that went through that area.
Did they give any to the neighbors there?
No, they did pave the road at
So-
the end, though.
Bob, can I ask you a question?
You
If, and I understand, this is all we have in front of us, and I personally am in favor of this. We meet again in 2 weeks. Can we put something together and see what we can do about, this
I
ain't
can
my
do my
thing.
part, but I think the testimony has to come from Wade
Yes,
Yeah,
and
can
and
we,
maybe others.
can you do that for
'Cause
us?
I can do that.
I
Thank
don't
you.
know the difference between a 20-ton truck and a 30-ton truck,
One's bigger, that's
That's about right.
all I can give you.
Well, if you're of a mind to proceed with this tonight, the first motion would have to be to declare an emergency based on the chief's testimony pursuant to NJSA 39:4-197.3.
Okay,
I move that we do that.
So
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
And that was with respect to item 5D.
Yes.
Now, you would do the same thing with respect to item 5E if you believe the testimony of the chief was compelling.
Shouldn't we go ahead and make a motion to introduce 5D before we
Do it
go
either
on?
way.
What's that?
We did.
Okay.
You didn't introduce it yet.
No, we
I'm
didn't introduce
suggesting
it.
that you declare an emergency on both
Emergency
terms first.
Oh, first, okay. So I'll entertain a motion then to declare an emergency on items mentioned in E.
So moved.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
Now, having declared an emergency under the statute, you may proceed with the introduction of the ordinance, starting with 5D.
Great. 5D, we need a motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes,
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
And then 5E, 1860-2017, an ordinance temporarily prohibiting left turns from Route 322 eastbound onto Gale Avenue.
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Motion and a second, Rita?
Mr. Gishar?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes,
Mr. Schenker?
Yes?
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
And Rita, when would the public hearing be held on those two?
They'll both be October the 2nd.
Great. Any other questions for the chief? Chief, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Item 5F, ordinance number 1861-2017, an ordinance establishing a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Old Egg Harbor Road. I guess I can, before I call on Mike to give us a little information, as I can tell you that once Old Egg Harbor Road was paved, the residents in that area and Woods Landing particularly indicated that it's become a bit of a speedway. So it's one thing after another. So this actually came out of the idea that with the way the speed is along the whole road, that we decided to go ahead and reduce that speed limit. But Mike, can you fill us in on anything more on this?
Yes, so when we received that request, I contacted Kevin, our our engineer, and asked him to take a look at the speed limit to make a recommendation what it should be. And his recommendation is, this ordinance is 25 miles an hour.
25 miles an hour.
are you
That's what's in the
considering the whole length of,
Yeah, currently both ends are 25 and in the middle is
Just
40.
the middle.
So we're changing the
just
middle 40
filling it
to
in.
25, so it'd be the entire
do you
length.
think that will be an enforcement problem?
Why?
I mean,
I
I think 25 is a little slow for
yeah.
maybe 35 or whatever, but 40 has, obviously, they haven't done 40. They've done more than 40.
Why
that
be
road.
inconsistent? If one end is 25 and the other end, why not make it that way all the way through? To
I
be
agree.
consistent.
Yeah, but it's going to be an enforcement problem, but it's
Most of the
okay.
people that are going to be using that road are going to be the residents that live there.
Not
And
necessarily.
you know what? We put speed humps on Pinehurst because it was a 25, and that people were doing 40 and 50 speeding down that road. It actually became a deterrent. In fact, a lot of the people who live on that other road wanted speed humps put in there also. Because, look, they have school buses, they have young children there. You got to make a decision. I mean, and you know what? I'm all for public safety, and I think 25 is the answer.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you go from a rough road and you repair the potholes and the problems, and then you go to speed bumps like we did on Pinehurst. So it's, and that's working, like they said. So I think it's, I
I'm not
think this
saying
is
that
neat.
it is not a thing for public safety. I'm just saying whether it's a realistic thing to do, but
Well, it's pretty unanimous with the residents along the road and in the Woods Landing development, who have made phone calls and indicated that they, for a safety issue, they think it should be the same speed.
well, I'm just looking at Park Road, and some of the people who are residents there and still go 40, 50 miles an hour down that road. I'm just saying that.
No, we understand. Yeah.
You know, the whole road is 25, and people still are just zooming down it, but,
Okay.
yeah, 25 is fine with me. It just seems as though it's unrealistic.
In my opinion, the issue is, at one end of the road is 25, and where it goes 40 to 25, there's a playground right there. And on the other end is your ball fields with the same situation. And I know just because you change the signs doesn't mean they're going to slow down, but it's there to let them know that. And obviously, the chief and his guys can't enforce something that's not there. So I would hope that maybe we could pay a little extra attention to that area for a little while to make sure people know that we're serious about this.
I think that's where it's at, is enforcement, and people will slow down if it's enforced.
And I've already talked to the chief about putting up an advance notification, which he's going to do, indicating that speed is going to change so they have a heads up on that there, too.
Okay. All right.
Okay, we need a motion to introduce.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Blank?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and introduced.
6, award of bids, contracts, change orders. A, resolution awarding contract to Shore Top Construction Corporation for Leapy Track hockey court construction for a fee not to exceed $291,915. Mike?
Yes, this is the reconstruction of our hockey courts. And this is, work is scheduled to take effect in March.
In March.
15th.
And that change, came about through discussion with the MLAA about wanting to have their hockey season available for this season. And the contractor worked
haven't-
with us on that.
Yes, I have an email from him.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
B, resolution authorizing first-year extension of award bid 2016-11 to provide property maintenance, mowing, and other specialized landscaping services to Green Trees Landscape and Construction Company for the term January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2018 on a as-needed basis.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Resolution approving the recommendation of the Lake Lenape Dam Committee for Atlantic County to award a contract to WSP USA Incorporated in the amount of $285,535.68. Mike, could you explain this?
Please.
Yes, this is to study the path forward on the dam, whether or not it would be reconstructed or whether it would be new, or what improvements are needed. This is a preliminary engineering study. The county went out for RFQs. The county engineer narrowed it down to 3. The dam committee interviewed the 3 final candidates and are recommending this. The township would be responsible for half of that number. So,
Shouldn't that be put
50%.
in there?
Hmm?
The half,
Yeah, that should be in there.
It's in the resolution.
Okay.
it is in the,
Yeah, I think I did see it.
oh, in
anyway. I read it,
the
yes.
formal resolution.
Yes.
Mike, how old's the dam?
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
1848.
So for $300,000, we're going to have somebody tell us that the dam is no good.
Nah.
I'll take it.
Thank you.
I sat in on that meeting as well. I represent the township component of the dam committee, the Lake Lenape Dam Committee. There's 3 representatives of the township, 3 representatives of the county, and if there's a tie vote, it goes to the county engineer. We settled the Agate litigation last year when they attempted to design and install a cofferdam, a permanent cofferdam.
Right, I remember that debacle. I
It
mean,
it failed.
Yeah.
So this engineering firm is going to study and provide a preliminary report on what they think would be the appropriate ways to fix it. Whether that means complete replacement, whether that means adding additional spillway area, adding abutment reinforcement on the downstream side. Each of the 3 engineering companies had ideas. And this particular one has a lot of experience. The dam committee felt that their proposal was the best. So it's a hydro study on how to increase the flow over the dam at peak seasons.
Yeah, it says something about saving us money. In what way is that going to take place, or?
I don't remember that.
What?
No, I don't either.
Because it wasn't 350,000. It's just 300.
It says
What
it
was the
right
question?
here.
What was the question?
It said something
Somewhere
about
it's
Saving us money.
saving us money.
Well, they're going to, I think what that means, Judy, is they're going to look at the economics of it as well. to say, here's something that is a little less costly. Because expanding the spillway means tearing down part of the head wall to allow that to become part of the spillway itself, allowing more water to flow over it in less time.
And preserving the integrity of the fish ladder, too.
That as well.
Yeah, it says here, cost savings associated with 2018 regular inspection.
Oh, I know what that is. Yeah. We pay for an inspection of the dam, which goes to the state dam, what is it? Dam Safety Committee of the state. And that requires an inspection. I think it's annually, isn't it, Mike? Every 2 years. Included in what they're doing for us is the submission to the state dam safety committee. So it would be a cost saving to us for what we normally would have to pay for that service.
Pay for the inspection. Okay.
What is that cost, you know, offhand? The inspection, what does that inspection cost us?
I don't know.
So they're going to give us their recommendation, which obviously is probably their point of view, but they're going to study it to see if it's feasible to do?
Yes.
Okay, so what happens if it's not?
I envision, I don't have a crystal ball, I don't know exactly what's going to
Okay.
happen, but I envision they're going to give us alternatives
Okay.
and pricing it, cost engineering it, showing safety factors.
Right.
Right now, you have a dam that's got 3 4-foot pipes and a limited spillway. And whenever there's a rain event, Brett and I are out there. And we, at the last one, we were anticipating a 5-inch storm. We got a 7, did we? And the county allowed us for the first time in many, many, many years to open that 3rd pipe.
Open the third gate.
And that's only because we grouted the sinkhole in it 2.5 years ago. And it worked.
So it seems to me that the dam has a Band-Aid right now, and that they're going to tell us how we can either repair it or replace it. Is that correct?
Yes. And portions of the coffer dam that Agate installed are still there,
Mm-hmm.
and they actually inhibit the flow of water.
Right. Right. Okay.
Now, once they have, given us the ideal way to make it work better, and are they going to do the work themselves, or are we going to
Go out to bid.
put it out for bid again, or
No.
the county?
A couple of things could happen. This is just a preliminary analysis. If approved by the dam committee, the county and the township, predominantly the county, they could become the design engineers for the construction. That's one possibility.
Okay.
The other possibility is they could become the site construction inspectors during the construction or reconstruction of the dam. Typically, that does not happen if you are the design engineer. Typically, you want a different set of eyes on that. But they, again, may become the ones that prepare the bid documents. And that's a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
And then those documents are put out to bid, and
That's a
a
lot of
contractor,
Yeah.
the apparent low contractor, if
What is it they
successful
are?
and if responsible, would get the work.
So, just so these folks and the people watching are clear on this, we're in for $140-some-odd thousand.
Now,
No,
Now.
yeah.
now,
Okay?
you're right.
We have that money set aside?
Mhm. Yeah, he's,
Okay. I just
putting
want to
this-
make sure everybody's clear on that we knew this was coming. We don't like it, but we knew it was coming.
And we're budgeting every year for the big nut that cracks for the dam, right?
Yeah, that ought to be
Capital,
cheap.
yeah.
yeah, we've voted on it every year for the,
Okay.
And just for my own edification, we had a contract before to correct the problem. The problem, the proposed solution failed. How do we protect ourselves against a similar situation here? Are we bonding this effort, or what are we doing to,
Well, the first way you do it is you provide protections in the contract documents.
mhm.
Things like liquidated damages for cost overruns, for time overruns, There's pay-when-paid clauses, there are provisions for penalties for
And they are
deficiencies.
in the contract.
Yeah.
As I understand, before, or many years ago, we've been trying to get the county to really help us on this, and it looks like, since they're going to be paying half of this, are they feeling as though they're going to do the same with the construction that happens in the future? For instance, if this is going to cost $1 million, are they going to pay $500,000 to help us out? Or is this what you see in the future in dealing with them? The county, is
I'm
the
not
county
sure
going to
how to
come?
answer
The
that.
question, is the county going to come through, although it hasn't in many times in the past?
I can say this about it. The obligations of Hamilton Township and Atlantic County are contained in a document that goes back many years, that vests 50% ownership in each of us, and therefore 50% of the maintenance cost goes with that. I will say, having dealt with the county on a couple of the issues at the dam, they've been pretty good neighbors. Let me
Okay.
give you one example. In the context of evaluating the viability of the coffer dam, it was determined that there were voids, big voids, in what's called the west embankment, that portion of the dam which goes from the structure of the dam itself toward Weymouth Road, toward the old factory. Was that a $400,000 contract, Mike? South State? Whatever it was a big number. The county paid it.
Right.
We didn't pay any of it. And it was a big job, and it was an emergency job. They had to come right in there in the middle of the winter. So the county will be administering this contract. They will be the contracting agency, but they live by the same document that we live by. And the idea is to get something there finally that takes care of all of the concerns and is structurally sound.
I was just really reviewing the 1972-3 situation where we did not have any water in the lake for several years, and the responsibility of the county, Wheatons, and the residents also kicked in to make that happen, the repairs happen. So I'm just saying that we don't we want to preserve the lake, and the way we can preserve it is by the county helping us, and they have a responsibility, but it doesn't seem as though it has been happening too fast. That's all I'm saying.
So right now, we really don't know what the big picture is, and this is going to get us there.
That's true.
We have to figure it out before, I mean, not that I want to sound like doomsday, but there is an issue with the dam and how much and how longer it can hold. So, we have to at least know what we're up against before we even know if we can address it and how soon we can address it.
Anyone else? So it looks like we're looking for a motion to approve the resolution approving the recommendation of the Lake Lenape Dam Committee for Atlantic County to award contract to WSP USA Incorporated in the amount of $285,535.68.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gashar?
Yes.
Mrs. Link? Mrs. Link?
Yes, I know what you read says 285,000. It's half of that.
Right, and it's indicated in the resolution, and it's also a certification from the CFO on the exact amount of that half in the resolution.
Okay, but I'm saying that that's not what you read just a second ago.
Well, what the resolution is saying is that you, as the governing body, are accepting the recommendations of the Lenape Dam Committee to allow the county to contract with WSP, but you all know,
Okay.
you're obligated for half of it.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to be very specific. Yes, my answer is yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Thank you. We're now down to the consent agenda. If you notice, 7J was deleted according to our addition and deletion agenda items tonight. Also, we're going to pull off items C and D for discussion, so I'm asking for a motion to approve 7A, 1 and 2, through B, and then E through L.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Abstain. And now we're going to look at item 7C separately.
Yes, I can address that, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, if you would, Bob, thank you.
First, I wonder if there's anyone from Arawak here. The situation is, I'll start with item C. There's a 2-year maintenance bond that's put up by the contractor after the performance bond is released. The engineer, in this case, it was Bob Smith, because it was the 2013 road program, prepared a punch list. That punch list is submitted to the contractor, and they're obligated to perform the duties in the punch list before the maintenance bond either terminates or is released. The problem with a maintenance bond, unlike a performance bond, is it has a limited term. It's for 2 years and 2 years only. Most performance bonds are in place unless and until the governing body releases them. It requires an affirmative act of the legislature issue. So we've enacted a procedure that 90 days before the termination of a bond, the engineer goes out and inspects, the contractor's placed on notice, and he has that window of time to perform. I am told that with respect to item C, what we're talking about now, 2013, the punch list items are not completed. I can report to you that principals of Arawak met with Bob Smith today. I don't know what happened. I wasn't at that meeting. But we're in an uncomfortable position. We don't want to hurt this company.
Yeah.
Because if I have to file a lawsuit, it affects their bond rating, it affects the personal indemnitors on the bonds. It does bad things to a company. But I have no other alternative. The answer is, and I would invite you to talk to these gentlemen tonight, if you would allow that, Mr. Mayor,
I certainly would.
to hear their side of the story, because we're a business-friendly community that doesn't want to hurt somebody if we can help it.
Okay.
So with that, I would suggest to you
Sure.
that
Well,
if they
you
want to
would-
speak, you're invited to.
One of you or both of you come up and identify yourself for the record.
I'm Matthew McCallum with Arawak Paving. We have several issues with the punch list that is provided to us. We feel that we have performed on this punch list. We've had multiple punch lists on this contract and many of the items in there say redo this or redo that because we've already been out there and addressed all these issues. Some of these issues that he seems to put that Bob Smith is putting on as a maintenance issue were cleared under the performance bond issue. And now they become a maintenance issue because of their design problems that he's trying to have us maintain things on the road that were a design issue or where there was poor subbase or failures underneath the road that were nothing to do with the contract that we provided. And so this contract's 2013. It took forever to clear the performance bond because he kept providing another punch list and another punch list of different items. He kept coming up with different items. And so by the time we finally clear that, now we got a 2-year maintenance bond that goes on top. We're talking, this should have been cleared out years ago, and we're having to maintain a road now that's several years old, and we feel that we're being asked to perform maintenance on items that shouldn't be our items. and we don't feel that he's being reasonable about that. We feel that we've been a very good partner with Hamilton Town. We are in Hamilton Township. We've had several contracts with Hamilton Township. I think that we are one of the only reasons that we're able to keep the prices down in Hamilton Township, because if you've noticed, there's not too many people that bid in Hamilton Township. And the reason for that is this very issue that we're dealing with right here. When you're bidding here, you have to put in a factor, and you have to decide doing the work is going to cost you so much to do the work, and then how much is it going to cost your company to continually go back and perform punch work that never seems to be able to be satisfied to Bob Smith's satisfaction. Now, he's the sole
What is your
judge.
position with the company?
I'm a general manager with the company. He's the sole judge as to whether it's good, and we have no repercussions on that. And so we have to just accept, and we've been out multiple times to fix issues that he's come up with. And, you know, we're going to come back, I guess we're going to come back and finish this again, and we're going to go out probably one last time and try to get everything signed off by him. But we just feel that we're being kind of raked over the coals here a little bit, and the only one that benefits from going back out is Bob Smith when he puts in fees for inspection. You guys don't benefit, and we don't benefit, and we're having a very hard and difficult time with that. And I think if you look back, you'll see that there's only been 1 or 2 bidders on these projects over the years, and there should be 8 to 10. There's all kinds of contractors around here that should be wanting to do your work. That being said, I mean, you guys have to do what you feel is right, and we're ultimately going to come out and take care of your road and make sure that we're a good partner with you, because we live here. We're part of this community. We want to work here. We heard our name discussed about Gale Avenue, but you know, I just want for the record on Gale Avenue, we use that road quite a bit, and I understand it's a narrow road, and our truck drivers have been using that road, and I think I don't think there's ever been an issue where there's been a collision with one of our trucks and another vehicle on that road, because our drivers have been very careful and go very slow when they're going through there. So that being said, you know, I understand where you're coming from with the safety issue on that. I know it's a separate issue. I just wanted to throw that in there because I heard our name mentioned on that. But I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk tonight and explain our side, and I don't know if Mike had anything to...
Bob, is he at liberty? You said did you say you met with Mr. Smith?
Mike met with
I did. If I can
Mike, what is your last name?
Crescenzo,
Spell it, please.
Crescenzo.
And what is your position with the company?
I am the general manager of Arawak. Matt's the general manager of Barrett Asphalt. And I did meet with Mr. Smith today to discuss these lists. I've talked to him several times over the last few months about these issues. Unfortunately, most of these, 2013, 2014, I was still finishing school, so I wasn't here for them. But I know from the stories and the track record here of the punch list, I kind of know where Matt's coming from and kind of what our position is here. For those unfamiliar, these roads in Mizpah and throughout town, most of them are in poor shape. They're small roads, not much asphalt to begin with. We're expected to go out there, pulverize the road, and then add 2 inches of asphalt over top of it. Now, 95% of the area of these roads turns out fine, and you're able to stretch dollars really far and do a lot of roadways. It seems like on every road, though, with just doing that, you're not improving the subbase much, and inevitably cracking and stuff occurs because it's the same subbase that they paved the first road on. Which is fine. So we do the performance punch list, we seal the roads, and then we get several months later these maintenance punch lists. Now, where Bob and I have a difference of opinion is it doesn't seem like much to send a crew out there to seal these roads again, fix minor edge breaking from where the mail truck goes off the road, but there is a cost to that. And if they're stretching dollars and just doing that to get the most amount of road paved, I don't think it should fall on us to have to maintain the road for this long. And if you look through the punch list, which I have here with me tonight, and if you look 2013 through 2016, they're all identical. It's small cracking issues. It has nothing to do with our workmanship. It's just that when you do the roads that way, you're able to get a lot done, and unfortunately, it doesn't hold up the same way as if you did a full road treatment to a fewer roads. So that's basically our opinion on it. I had a meeting with Bob today. We reiterated these things. I told him we would go out there and make another effort to fix some issues, but I'm still against several issues where nothing was identified at the time of construction. Some areas 2 years ago were fine. Areas are developing that are failing now. It's nothing against, 2 years ago the road was fine. Things have developed now, and it's nothing against what we did. It's just that over time, these roads don't have a lot of longevity because of how we're constructing them. But for the most part, I think a lot of them are turned out fine. So thanks for letting me speak to you guys tonight, and it's kind of, don't know.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I think, was it Bob? Or
Matt.
Mac, yeah. I think Mac mentioned that these discrepancies are pointed out and that they have no recourse, that's it, that Bob is the final judge. Doesn't the contract have any dispute resolution clause, or, isn't there some way to resolve these differences?
Not really, no.
No, until he signs off that the punch list is complete, that's it. And that's what I kind of discussed with him today. If these things were never put on a list, we never received punch lists that look like this from any other engineer. Nothing to this magnitude, nothing this long down the road. We get a lot of longevity out of our asphalt, and I told Bob this today, this is strictly in Hamilton Township that we see things like this, and that we're on the hook this long down the road.
And that's what I said. That's why there's a lot of people who don't bid in Hamilton Township. And that's the stark reality of it. And we want to keep, I think we just got another bid here. We
Yes.
want to keep working here. We want to keep doing a good job for you. And, we just feel that this is the only place where we have that kind of longevity issue, where we continue to go back in year after year, and the contract never seems to be done, and it's very frustrating.
Can you explain to me what the ideal sub-base would be so that they wouldn't crack?
Well, if I may, most roads that have poor sub-base, that you dig down 10 inches, put some stone, base asphalt, a second course of surface asphalt. It really depends on which area of, I guess, New Jersey you're in, Matt, and it's what the existing conditions are.
I don't think that it's a bad thing that what he's doing. I think that he's getting a lot of roads done for you at an economical, because you don't have a lot of money to spend. And you don't have the money to be spending to go out and put DGA and base and top and make that road last. You don't have that kind of money, and we understand that. But we feel that we're able to go out there and give you a lot of streets at a very economical and good job, but then he's trying to hold us to a standard as if we put sub-base, base, and top on the road. And so, his design is to save you money, but then it ends up,
The expectation.
we end up having to pay the cost of continually having to go back and trying to close out these contracts so that we can move on to other contracts. It takes time and resources away from us.
Mike, does he ever come in and discuss this with you?
Yes, I've talked to Bob, not recently about this, but I know that Bob is very particular on closing out a contract. And the question I would ask is, why does it take so long to get the punch list done the first time?
Because we go out, we send a crew out. They do the punch list. They do everything on the punch list. And then a week later, we get another punch list with additional items on the punch list. Sometimes there are issues that we need to take care of. We're not perfect. Right. There's things that we have to go back and either fix or we didn't complete with the contract. And we get in there and do those things. But generally with here has been that he continues to give, it's not quite good enough, and so he gives another punch list. And it's not quite closed out, so he gives another punch list.
Now, he would tell me, or he has told me, that it takes you a long time to get out there once he gives you the punch list.
And you can speak to that.
I can speak a little bit better to that. More recently, it does take a while because this is what we know we're going to get. We're going to go out there, we're going to do it. I'm going to take away from another contract that I can close out in a day, because we're going to go out there with a list of stuff that says seal all joints. We'll seal, in our opinion, what's all joints with no supervision, and then all the joints aren't sealed because there's no one out there with us. So that's kind of another issue that I have. We go out there to do this stuff, and Bob is not there to check off on it, or, someone else that's with him. And a lot of these issues, too, from paving, some of these areas that are getting cracks and stuff, if there was more supervision when we were actually out there and they identified sub-base issues, that they might have gone away to begin with and not have to be sealed or anything like that. So that's another issue that I had that I discussed with Bob.
Well, I understand he's out there when you proof roll.
I don't remember proof rolling any streets 2016.
You have to proof roll.
Well, our trucks go down there, but whether the inspector's not, we do it ourselves. I mean,
You're saying he's not out there when you proof roll?
Bob?
Yeah, he,
Inspector is
Inspector is, okay.
occasionally.
all right.
What we're talking about in this particular item, 7C, is the Liberty Mutual bond with respect to the 2013 program. According to the agenda, punch list is dated June 16th, now September 18th.
Yes.
As far as I know, it's still listed. If I may, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, you can.
I don't know whether I should be talking to the Diaz or to these gentlemen, but first of all, it's unusual in our meetings to allow people to come up in this part.
We appreciate that, yes.
But I thought you'd be here, and the mayor made the right decision, in my opinion, allowing to hear you. I'm in a tough spot. The law says that the governing body hires a municipal engineer, and they are allowed to, rely upon his opinions, because he's bound to certain standards. He's a professional. We don't go out and look at your roads. And the issue of how many bids come in is irrelevant to the discussion tonight, because I have a very finite window of time. And that bond expires on the 22nd, I think,
21st.
the first one.
Thursday, yeah. And then the 30th.
So the area of the law that I have to look at is, do I have to file a lawsuit before the bond terminates? I don't want to do that to you guys. I don't want to do it to your company. Nobody up there wants to do that. But they rely on me for legal opinions, just like they rely on Bob for engineering opinions. And I'm not willing to take the risk that the road won't be done before the bond expires. So there's a couple of things we can think about. I don't know that you can do this work by the 21st. Is that a possibility?
From what I talked to Bob about, the weather's not going to be in our favor the next couple of days. Talked
No,
to
I
Bob
know.
about that today. And again, we went through one road we met at today and went through the list. Saw there was a couple things out there that we would agree to do. But we're going to have this issue throughout this whole 2013 punch list, which,
You got it on the next agenda item on 2014 as well.
exactly.
We got till the end of the month to do that.
Right. So that's, the issue is what we can get done and what we think we are responsible for is a major separation point here.
But you waited till the 12th hour
It-
to raise the issue.
It hasn't been, so it's been over months. We're working on 2 other jobs with Bob right now. It's kind of in back and forth with that.
Kevin, if you know, do these kind of disputes go to the County Construction Board of Appeals?
No.
No?
They do not.
So they're resolved through litigation?
Yes, that is the avenue.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you are right on track.
I can make a suggestion. If you can provide my client with some guarantee, financial guarantee, in other words, put up cash in lieu of a bond when this bond expires, for what you and Bob Smith can agree is the value of what's outstanding. And when you do it, you get it back. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay? The other way to do it would be to get a bond extension from Liberty Mutual. I don't know what's involved in that. It's probably a real pain. But
I'm not sure exactly. I'm sure it's something we could do.
But at the end of the day, what I need to do
You need to have security, yes.
before the bond terminates, that is my job, that's my obligation, it's what I've got to do for my client.
Is there any way that we could have a third party that would be part of the going out and looking at these streets and deciding exactly between the 3 of us what needs to be done and what can be cleared out and
Maybe on a going forward basis, but not for purposes of 2013 and 2014.
So is it's whatever Bob says is what it is.
It's whatever they say.
I think I did some of that in 2012. I think there were some things we accepted.
There was.
But those things you accepted, are they back on the list again?
It's a different program contract.
Okay.
Can Mike go ahead?
Oh,
There were some things that I thought that we were asking them to do again, it wasn't for them to do again. And I changed it, but it's very dangerous for me to substitute myself.
So was there a performance bond on these? Do you get performance bonds and maintenance bonds? So the performance bonds were satisfied?
Yes.
And
2 years
paid
ago.
And released?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously, they did the job that we asked them to do. 2 years passes by, there's an inspection done. They need to fix what they need to fix, and then an inspection is done right after that. Correct? Did that happen?
I'm not sure how long it took to get the repairs done with the inspection. I don't know if it takes long to do after they do the repairs.
Well, the part that kind of, and for those of you who don't know, I'm in the construction world, so seeing something go this long is unheard of. I don't know how you stay in business. But with that being said, to me, there comes a certain point when their maintenance is done. If there's correction that needs to be done, it needs to be done, and it needs to be inspected immediately. The corrections need to be taken as good or not good, and then you move on. This is now 6, 7 years, or 5, 6 years have gone by on these projects, and we couldn't bring this to a settlement prior to this?
I can address that, Art. I can't tell you why it took so long for a performance bond to be released, but the performance bond guarantees the quantities, the locations, and the suitability and workmanship of the work.
Mm-hmm.
When that is released, the ordinance requires a 2-year maintenance bond, which is a separate obligation
Yes.
to make sure that the roadway performs during the maintenance period. So what brings us to this point in time is the 2-year window from when the performance bond was released. So if there was a delay, it certainly is not with respect to the maintenance bond, because it's a fixed term.
Right. When they accept a performance bond, a maintenance bond kicks in, and you have 2 years from that. I'm aware of that.
Now, when you're out
So,
there
excuse
doing
me,
that
Roger.
work, is the inspector there approving it, or just checking?
Just checking, yeah.
He never
They're there, doesn't, yeah.
I believe these jobs, we're final paid for these jobs.
Yeah.
Final paid for these jobs, they accepted the work when it was completed.
Can I say one thing to, what you said is exactly right, and we agree with that. What we don't agree with is, when you talk about maintenance bond, we feel that we have to maintain the part of the contract that we're responsible for. We feel that Bob Smith is having us maintain his design flaws rather than us maintaining our performance
Well,
flaws.
hold on now. Hold on.
That sounds
You're
like
big
they-
boys, you bid the job. You
Yeah.
bid the job based on a specification that you reviewed and you're qualified to review. Right?
Correct?
But we're not responsible for, other than that part of the contract. We didn't do sub-base repair. So if the sub-base is failing, that's not our responsibility.
That might be a legal and engineering question, I don't know. But we're here today. What are you offering?
Well, I met with Bob today and said there were some legitimate things that I would go out there and sealing items. Like, for instance, one road here, reseal all pavement joints and patches, seal pavement centerline cracks. This is 4 years ago. The road was approved 2 years ago, I guess, before this bond. We've done nothing to the road in the last 2 years. It was good then. Now it's centerline cracks or small cracks on the road. I just don't know how anything that we did caused that or affected that. And I don't know why we should have to maintain that. We do it on no other jobs in any other township.
Because that's what the ordinance in Hamilton Township requires.
To seal.
And that's what the state law requires. It requires a 2-year maintenance bond in the event that the roadway or your work does not perform the way it should.
Well,
It's a separate obligation.
yeah, I'm just wondering why only work in this town has that happen.
I don't want to fight that fight with you. I want to figure out a way to make this work.
Okay.
okay? I want to protect my client, I want to get you guys off the hook for your maintenance bond.
Yes.
But I need you to give me an offer. I need you to tell me what you're willing to do.
We'll go out and finish the items that we need to get finished, but we want Bob or his inspector to be there with us the whole time we're doing it, and to check off, as we're doing it, that they are completed.
Well, I'll tell you what,
So that we can be done and be finished with it.
I will be available to have a phone conference with you and Bob Smith tomorrow,
Okay?
both of you if you like. I will be in my office after 11 o'clock. The only thing I will promise you is I will look for a way
Okay.
to make it work, but I will not give up my client's right to be protected. And I think that for purposes of tonight, you should proceed with the agenda item as written, so that if we can't work it out, I know what I have to do.
We appreciate you allowing us to talk tonight.
Thank
and
you
we
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sandman, for your time, and we will give you that call tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming out.
Yep, thank you.
So
By
on
the way,
item
Mr.
7C.
Mr. Mayor, before we proceed with this,
Yes, please.
I would like to thank Jane Bash in Rita's office. Since we instituted the 90-day provision on the maintenance bond, performance bonds, it has worked very smoothly. This is an exception to the rule because it got down to the wire.
Got you. So we're looking to act on the resolution. Committee, what's,
Yeah, which one was this again?
we're on 7C.
7C. Yeah, okay. Well, I move the resolution.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Schenker,
I want to be clear that under the circumstances and after hearing both, well, at least one side of the story, and I guess, Mike, you kind of gave us our side of the story, that if there's, any way that we can avoid litigation, that's what we should do.
I agree.
I think we can get this done as gentlemen. They seem, they have a wonderful company that's been around for a long time. I don't know what all the circumstances were, but I've been in this situation before, and I can appreciate the frustration. Let's come in, let's do what we got to do, and call it a day. So if we can get that done and just move on with the rest of our lives, that would be great. So, yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes, and I like the fact that you want to have him out there when you're doing the work so that it's done, it's finished, it's off the list, Bobby, as you suggested, so that we can close this thing out as quickly as possible.
Mayor Kurtz.
I feel the same way. I think this is a good plan, and we certainly want to keep our relationship with Arawak, and we are. We have current bids out, and so yes, my answer is yes.
All yes and carry.
Okay, so,
Now, you understand that if we don't come to an agreement by the 21st, I have to file a lawsuit.
I'm sure we can make that happen, right?
Don't we have
I think so
D
too.
as well? Yeah, we'll work at that. Thank
We
you.
got to go to D now.
Okay. Now we're on D, resolution to deny the release of Liberty Mutual Company bond number 019046826M in the amount of $521,661.75, posted as a 2-year maintenance guarantee for the 2014 road program, bid 2014-04 Arawak Paving Company, due to incomplete punch list as recommended by Robert J. Smith, alternate township engineer, and his correspondence dated 6/23/17, and authorizing the solicitor to take action against the bond.
Isn't that the same?
Make the necessary motion.
Second.
Great. We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Schenker,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mayor Kurtz.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
John, gentlemen, before you leave, I just want to say that my comments about Gale Road were not, you just happen to be the company that's down the street. All right?
Okay.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of trucks that use that road.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
understanding. Thank you.
Besides, they're going out before I am. I don't want my car messed up.
Okay, we're on number 8, personnel. Resolution appointing Allison Rutledge as a full-time communications officer for the police department at a salary of $39,058.64, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gashard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
Item B, resolution appointing Luann McArdle as a temporary full-time clerk in the Public Works Department at $14.92 per hour, effective October 2nd, 2017, not to exceed 11 months.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gashard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Silva? And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
Number 9, approvals. Minutes of September 5th, 2017, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Against?
Abstain.
Okay. Judy wasn't here. Very good. And then B, payrolls and bills. Bill list totaling $1,454,456.81.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Rita?
Mr. Gashard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Shanker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
Reports. Administrator.
Nothing to add to my written report, Mayor.
Okay. Our solicitor, Bob?
Vote on the minutes 4-0.
Yes, I think it was.
401.
Because Judy abstained.
I am pleased to say I have nothing further to say.
Okay, Bob. Our engineer, Kevin, you have
Yes.
a roads update for us?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to point out that we took bids on the road program. They came in last week favorable.
Yes, they did.
Gave us the opportunity probably to be able to do all the alternates that we put in there. They were placed in there pending review of the budget and whether or not we thought we could get them all done. We think we will.
That's great.
And that includes a substantial amount of work that was in the alternates. So we think we're going to have a robust program this year, and we're ready to get that started right away as soon as we get the paperwork in from the apparent low bidder, which is Airwick, after this discussion. So,
Let me ask you a question then.
Yes.
As long as you're talking there. On inspections of the road, once the performance bond is released and you
Yes.
put the maintenance in,
yes.
when you have to do the inspection as to run it out as being complete, do you get the approval process? I mean, you get someone out there to go through and tell them, I'm recommending or not recommending?
Oh,
You
yeah.
discuss that?
We will do that at the time of the completion of the work, and I will be out there personally to make sure that that punch list is succinct, that it's accurate, and that they're there with me so that they understand exactly what needs to be done.
Well,
Very good point.
it's difficult hearing that what happens, that while you get a few bidders, and what it does is to take the competitive edge off of the process.
Well, that's their opinion.
I understand, but no one wants to hear that, okay?
I agree.
You want to believe that, the engineer has represented us in the best way possible, looking out for the best interest of his client, just as Mr. Sandman says. And obviously, we can take some of that thing to heart and just make sure it doesn't happen that way.
It's rare. I mean, I don't know that I've ever heard that before, that somebody is pointing that out as in terms of a limited number of bidders. And we did actually have a limited number of bidders on the road program, a little bit lower than I would have expected. We had some people pick up packages that did not submit bids. And we talked to at least some of them, and we knew why. They are very busy at this time of year. But they also were close enough that we thought that we got some good bids in, some healthy bids.
Well, and like you said, too, timing is everything.
It was a good time of the year to do it. They're moving into the shoulder season. They're guaranteeing themselves some work going late into the year, and that'll give them the incentive to give the best price they can, because getting a job at a low bid is better than getting no work at all going into the winter season. So they worked. I think they sharpened their pencils pretty well on these bids. So we had a very fortunate round of bidding on this, and that's gonna round out, of course, a very busy summer. That with a lot going on this summer, there's been a lot of development work that's happening, a lot of road openings. I mean, we have just scores of road opening permits
We
that were
talked
applied.
about that earlier, too, and I'm somewhat concerned at what we talked about earlier, and I talked to Mr. Jacobs about, and he brought it to our attention, that some utility companies are just going in and opening up the road without even applying for a permit. I mean, we have to take some steps here in this township to make sure that a road that was just paved already, they're opening up.
And they all they have to do under BPU regulations is identify it as an emergency. And so you can only imagine how broad the definition of emergency becomes under
Right.
those circumstances. So, a
Are
good
they
order.
required after, though, even after they open up, to come back and apply for the permit?
Yes, they are, and depending upon the strength of the ordinance, they're also required to make improvements regardless of whether it's an emergency or not. So those improvements get enforced at that time.
Okay.
But they're not allowed to just go in there at will and just open any road anytime they want under the guise of an emergency. They still have requirements.
And I know there's a lot going on in the community, and there's a lot of work going on the shoulders and whatnot, but it's very disturbing when you drive down the street around the corner from your house and people are opening up the road.
Yeah, and all it takes is a phone call from anybody that says, I smell gas, or something along those lines for any of the other utilities.
Thank you.
How many years is it supposed to be before they do open a road that has been recently paved?
Well, it should be a 5-year period, so that at the very least, you take advantage of the initial, shall we say, what we call the infrastructure cycle. The first 5 years of any infrastructure improvement is considered pretty much brand new.
Kevin, I just have one more question about their comments that the gentleman from Arawak
Yeah.
made. And they kind of led us to believe that the way the base was treated, or what was it called for and how the base was handled, that's the reasoning why you're seeing so much cracking. If the base isn't, what they were working on was not to the standard that should have been. Instead of taking the road down all the way and rebuilding it stone and all, what's your opinion on that?
There's a way to handle that. I think your solicitor hit the nail right on the head when he said you're presenting this. First of all, that's a very subjective
Without
opinion.
documentation, right, I
And that's
understand.
where I was headed, is that, that if that's your opinion, then that would be obvious to you when you're first going out there on the road, and that really should be something that you lodge, okay, as a dispute early in the project.
Right.
That dispute gets lodged, then that can come back and assist you at some point later on when you're in this position.
Right.
And you can say that was brought to your attention at some point when we had a chance to do something about it. At this point, there's nothing to do about it. You paved the road.
Right, oh, absolutely. I just feel like, if you saw the road and the condition it was in, it got there for a reason.
Right.
And even before you started the project, you
Go on record.
You can go on record and
In
state.
writing, yes. And I don't know what the language of his contract is, Bob's contract, but there's some dispute resolution in there, there may be arbitration in there.
Well,
I don't
keep in
know.
mind, too, that road was done in 4 phases. And he was the same engineer, correct? So, he should have been able to pick up on it.
Absolutely, it would be similar conditions going down through the phases. You would imagine so.
I would
anyway.
think so.
I didn't personally inspect that road, but I would imagine so. In other phase projects that we've done.
That was all grant money, too, on that, wasn't it, Mike?
Not on all the roads they're talking about.
Well, just talking on Malaga.
Malaga, yeah.
Yes.
Are we talking about Misbah roads?
Well, they're all over town. not
They're
just
all over
Lisbon.
town.
What substrate was used on Park Road? What's,
It was done the same way.
I don't know.
it was a rolled sand, correct?
They grind up
Compacted
the
sand.
existing
It was
road.
not
They-
the stone and the,
Right. They grind up the existing surface, and that becomes the base for the new surface. And they proof roll it. Once it's ground up and they roll it, they run a truck down and proof roll. And if there's a soft spot, they dig it out, and then they fill it in with a different base, and then they pave the road. And what Airwhack is saying, that in the areas that proof rolled fine, they shouldn't have any responsibility that if it cracks. But there's a 2-year maintenance bond. I mean, that if it cracks, they should seal the joint. And you also don't know how thick the paving was there. If a pothole comes up, you have to look at it and see, was the paving 2 inches thick, or did it get thin in an area because there was a hump in the sub-base? But that's what they're saying, is they're saying that the only place they should be responsible is where they replaced the sub-base, not the entire thing. And it's not an easy issue to resolve.
I couldn't have explained it any better than you just did, Mike, but I will say that if they thought that, if they're having a dispute about what should have been done on the road tonight, a week before the bond is going to expire,
I agree.
that would have been, that should have been obvious to a roadway expert at the time before, just before they paved it, or when they were walking that road, and they should have gone on record at that point in time. And they really, there's no reason not to. I mean, if they think that the roadway, they know what the game is. Just as Bob said, there's going to be a performance guarantee. And for whatever reason, it took until 2 years ago to complete the work under the performance guarantee. We don't know why that is. They may have waited 2 years to put the striping on the road before the performance guarantee could. So they're buying into the maintenance responsibility for that timing that it took to get the performance guarantee, and they're buying into that timing, that wear and tear.
Exactly right.
Under the maintenance
They own
bond.
it.
So, we don't know all of those circumstances here tonight, but I can tell you that the circumstances that they described as being exculpatory on their part should have been lodged in writing
Yeah,
up
and
front.
I
They were,
agree.
they were discoverable before the road was paved.
And,
So-
we don't want to hurt anybody here, but we also want it done the way it should be done. So-
No, and I think if we do get out there and they do the work, and Bob's looking at, overseeing it and checking it off as it's getting done, I think that would be that sounds like a reasonable solution. I don't know about the timing. It's very tight.
And, Mr. Solicitor, thank you for taking care of that
Yes,
situation.
yeah,
It was
very much,
well
Bob,
handled.
thank you, yeah.
takes
Anything
a,
else, Kevin?
That's it. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions of our engineer?
No.
Okay, Township Committee members, I'll start. We had quite a few things going on this weekend. I want to mention that our Senior Citizen Advisory Committee, headed by Chairman Diane Fox, had their event out at the Hamilton Mall. I believe from talking with her that it was very successful. Members of committee were able to go out and attend. They were in a great location in the middle of the mall. They had good traffic going back and forth, and they had a significant number of vendors and tables set up. So I think our Senior Citizen Advisory Committee is doing a great job, and my kudos to Diane Fox, who's running that. They did a great job. We also had the Historical Society, John Ash and his staff, Cheryl Fetty and the rest of the crew, put together the Art in the Park at the Memorial Park here in town. Again, they had over 30 vendors this weekend. The weather was great. They had a decent crowd. It was a little light at times, but people kept coming through. And overall, I think the vendors did well. So I just want to extend our thanks to the Historical Society for once again bringing people into the town at a great event. This Saturday and Sunday is the Wine and Food Festival put on by the Mays Landing Merchants Association. It looks with all the storms and things that are in the forecast that we're going to be right in the middle of it with some sunshine. So it looks like it's going to go off pretty well. I encourage everybody to come out. Fred Nebels, who's the president, is doing a great job. He has an incredible staff and volunteers to pull something off that is big as that. And they have a lot of new things planned this year. But I encourage everybody to come out for that. We had a little snag he advised me of tonight where somehow a person who had access to the Facebook account, which had like 1,800 or 2,800 likes, and people saying they're going, somehow was deleted, and it caused some grief. But we're in damage control mode now by all getting our Facebook accounts up and letting people assure people that the event is in fact going on. I don't think it's going to make too much damage. They've sold a ton of advanced tickets already, so I think it's going to be a great event. And I hope everybody has time to come out and enjoy themselves this week. A little downtime, nice weather. It should be really, really nice. Another item I want to mention is there was a rumor out there that came to my attention about the senior citizen swim program at Hess Pool was canceled by the superintendent. I had a conversation with Frank Vogel today on the phone, and he assured me that that information was given out improperly, that the senior citizens can keep their swimsuits out, that it's in fact going to go on, but there are a few changes to do with staffing, so they might have to adjust the schedule. But I've already informed the people who contacted me that swimming availability at Hess is still on for the senior citizens, as it should be. And Mr. Vogel agreed with that, too. I guess, considering the weather, I just wanted to say that the construction on the bathrooms out at Underhill Park are doing well. They've got the plumbing in now, and they poured the slab already, or they're going to? No, they're going to pour the slab, Brett. Yeah, so I appreciate everybody staying on top of that. It's certainly something we've been working hard on to get done, and it looks like it's going to be a reality. And if the weather gives us a break, it'll be done within the time frames that we're expected to see it, and I think that's going to happen. And that's all I really have. I'd like to move on to Art.
Thanks, John. I'd also like to comment that the Senior Citizens Advisory Board Committee did a great job. It was a wonderful event, and to go out there and see that the folks in your town put something like that on, it was very professionally done, it was very impressive, so congratulations to all those folks that were involved with that. The other thing I'd like to mention was Reverend John Ash and the 9/11 Remembrance Committee did a fantastic job, as usual. This has been going on for 16 years now, and, you know, unfortunately, this is something that we have to do, but it's a good thing that we do. So it was great. This year, I got to be part of it, which was fun, but, you know, they did a great job, and it was very well done, very well orchestrated, and the one thing that's very nice about it is that all the people that are involved, there is no introductions. It's not about anything but what happened on that day, and I thought that was very impressive, to keep focused on what happened and to keep focused on where we are, where people have gone since that day, people that were involved. So it was very, very well done, and I want to thank all those, Reverend John Ash and all those folks for doing a great job. So, John, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Art. Roger.
True, and I was just going to ask you, Art, I mean, we were out at the senior health fair. I understand there was quite a number of people that enjoyed the belly dancing that day. Yeah. They have seniors that put on the belly dancing, and I think rather than pole dancing, this became something enjoyable for them to watch. But I think any time you see any of these events put on in our community, it draws them to different parts. Takes them into the mall, and there's always people that are there, and all of a sudden then they want to get involved, and you always see people out there that you haven't seen in a while. Art in the Park was just like it, and Art, and you're talking about the 9/11, what always impresses me was the solemnity of that event and how it's brought forth to the public, and the fact that it's kept, and you can ask Charlie too, how it's kept to 30 minutes, right, Charles? And you did a great job in covering it for the current, and I think Public Works, as usual, did a great job setting up the chairs and taking them down. And again, and I say it every time, it's amazing when you have 300 or more people in a park at night at that half an hour, how they disperse in a matter of 15 or 20 minutes. The town returns to normalcy as if nothing were there, and I think that's remarkable, and kudos to all of them. And you're right, Art, you know, the fact that the whole program goes on with no applause and no introductions, it's fabulous. And I think all the credit generally should go to the Reverend, because several of us that sit on that committee, he's quite a taskmaster, and, you know, he's very fastidious in how he wants to have things done, and it probably wouldn't be that successful if he weren't in charge of it. So he does a great job. Thanks, Mayor.
No problem. Judy?
I wasn't there at the health fair, but I got some information from Diane about some of the success stories that took place. They had an attorney that spoke, and he came to Diane afterwards and thanked her for inviting him, and he said he has never seen such passion to help the community and looks forward to working with us again. And I think that really speaks for itself. The committee has really gotten together and been very impassioned, and Diane is doing a fantastic job. And I'm glad that the belly dancers were there. That was one of the things that I suggested and was able to encourage to happen. But belly dancing can be also very healthy, and we all need those elements of health in our life to keep us young. So even men, I don't know why men can't do belly dancing. Why not?
You wouldn't want to see that, seriously. Just saying.
So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Rodney?
Well, I think all of you covered most of the events in the township. I just want to say I'm happy to hear the mall event turned out as well as it did. I know I had got a couple of people there. I think they showed up and they contributed to the program, so I'm very happy to.
Lou Green was there.
Yes, and also the massage person. And I was interested in your comments about pole dancing, and
Senior pole dancing.
I've never heard of that. But anyway, over the talking about Malaga Road, just as we talked about that, I had occasion to come back from Washington over the weekend, and came down Malaga Road, and I think, as some of you know, the GPS systems direct you to come down there. Now, maybe that'll change with the speed limit change. But I came down behind a huge truck. I didn't want it to be that way, but that's the way it turned out. And during the first part of that, I saw the speed limit was 45 miles an hour. Of course, that's not our part. And the double line, in many cases, was not clear at all. There were places where it looked like where you couldn't see it. But again, that's not, I don't believe that's part of our road. I think once it got to the township, and I hope I'm correct about that, we had a good solid line and the 40-mile-an-hour speed limits. So that was good. I can see why trucks prefer that route. I mean, it's one straight run, there's no stops, and it's a lot easier on them. But I can see why residents are concerned about that. I also had occasion to attend the ceremony for Senator Whalen. The ceremony was conducted at Convention Hall, and there were well over 1,000 people there. And I'll tell you, it was one of the most moving ceremonies that I've attended. They had many speakers, including Harvey Kesselman and past governors. Governor Florio was there. mayors, and it was just, and they all had personal comments to make and comments that brought many people, including myself, to tears. It was just an excellent, and they had the organ there, they had some musicians there. The line was to shake hands with the Whalen family was must have been an hour and a half. But after that, it was just a beautiful ceremony. And it was well-deserved. He was a great senator. We're speaking of roads, and I just want to tell you that I've certainly been talking up this issue about the time it takes to repair roads, and I'm hoping that we can get a little group together ourselves and go forward with to the SJTPO and others. I've already talked to the county, and they're willing to put together a list of things that impediments to road construction, and maybe there's something that we can start to speed that process up, because it just seems to take too long. Our green team is moving ahead. We had sort of a makeup meeting recently, and we're moving ahead to try to address the bike path and the pedestrian issues within town. And we're working with the cross-county connection folks to do an audit and get this thing moving. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Rodney, thank you. I'd like to open it up to public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak?
Move to close the public portion.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have, next, item 12, adjourn to executive session. Rita, could you?
I'd have to talk over you.
Be it resolved by the Township Committee of the Township of Hamilton that this meeting be adjourned to an executive session to discuss the following matters, which are exempt from public discussion pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law. 1, Thelma Heights LLC potential settlement, attorney-client privilege. 2, Teamsters collective bargaining. 3, Santor gravel pit litigation update, litigation, attorney-client privilege. Be it further resolved that the governing body may reconvene in public session and confirm the results of the executive session if there is a majority consensus for action to be taken on the matter tonight.
Thank you, Rita. And could I get a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Abstain. Thank you.
Yeah,
In public session,
so moved.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
9, 10.
And now we're looking, we're going to discuss item 12A.
Hold on, John.
Go ahead.
Time now is about 9:15. We're back in the open session. We were in the executive session, made an announcement with respect to the 3 items that were going to be discussed. Only those 3 items were discussed. The minutes of the executive session will be made available, at which time the confidential nature of those matters is no longer confidential.
Okay.
And Lisa went outside to see if there was any public. There was none. This gentleman has returned back to the open session, so we may proceed.
Great. On item 12A, Thelma Heights LLC, we're looking for a motion to approve the tri-party agreement
So moved.
And to authorize the mayor to sign it.
and authorize the mayor to sign it.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita?
Sorry. Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz?
Yes.
All yes and carry.
And then we'll go to 12B on the Teamsters collective bargaining.
No, the other one.
You want the interloper agreement for the.
Okay, we can do that first. Yeah, 12C. That was the item with the Santor gravel pit matter. We're looking for a motion to consent to the incompleter.
Interloper.
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 Interpleader.
I
Who's-
have it.
You have
got
it? Yeah, it was hard to hear Evan on the
Okay, I'll
phone there.
make that
but-
I
motion.
think it is in there, please.
Second.
I think it is too. That's what it was to me.
Interloper.
Yeah, incompleter. We have a motion and a second. Rita?
I'm sorry. It's interpleader. I need a motion
Interpleader,
and a
yes,
second
that's-
again. I'm
yep.
sorry.
Interpleader.
The motion?
I did.
And the second?
I seconded it.
Thank you.
That's everything.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mayor Kurtz.
Yeah, no, we don't.
John, you don't
No.
need anything.
No, we don't need anything on the Teamsters, we're good.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, I think
Motion
that's
to
it.
adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
13.
Night, everybody.